Sorry, Brandon from Atlanta, first time caller. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, how are y'all today?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing okay. Just I've been listening, and clearly you guys are pretty upset by what's happening in Florida. So, and I'm curious as to why. And I guess I'll preface it by saying, okay, if there's a kid in a public school who has measles, but your kid is vaccinated, then what's the big deal?
Well, vaccines are not a cure.
Mm-hmm.
So vaccines are preventative. So if all the kids are vaccinated, then obviously the environment is safer. But if you have several kids who aren't vaccinated and several kids who are vaccinated, that could create chaos. And when I was going to school, you had to have these vaccines to attend school out of protection for other kids because we're all in this school together. So you might be thinking just because you have a vaccine, there's no you're fine. No, vaccines only work when people are collectively taking the vaccine, like polio. There was
Right.
a mandate for kids to have the polio vaccine. That's how they work. And so for the state of Florida, trying to end all vaccines and comparing it to slavery, that to me is ridiculous. Do you agree the comparison to slavery was offensive and ridiculous, Brandon from Atlanta?
What's that?
Do you agree the Florida Surgeon General comparing vaccines to slavery, because that's where I actually started in this conversation, do you believe that was deeply offensive, ahistorical, and ridiculous?
Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery.
I okay. I'm a white person, so
So,
if I were black, I would think it was offensive. Yeah, I agree.
but you aren't
You
black.
have to
You're
be
white.
black to think
Different
that
slave.
it's offensive.
So you aren't black. So you don't think it's offensive to compare vaccines to American chattel slavery? You don't think that's offensive, and your excuse is because you're white?
Yeah.
Do you think slavery is offensive at all?
Of course.
Well, then, if you think slavery is if you think slavery is disgusting and was horrible, why would you think it would be okay to compare vaccines to slavery? Why aren't you pissed off about that? Like, Reese and I were never enslaved, but we know how disgusting that is. I'm in a ball of confusion, like the Temptation. You can't wrap your mind around that. Wow. Damn. Go ahead, Brandon.
If the Surgeon General was white, then I'm agreeing that there would be outrage. But because he's black, there's not near as much outrage.
That
Because
Well, the
wasn't the
reason
question that
why
you
is
were
because
asked, though.
people like you think it's okay for someone to say that. Black or white, nobody should be making that analogy. So you should be outraged that anybody would compare vaccines. Do you think there's a comparison between vaccines and slavery?
no, I do not.
Okay, then what he said was terrible to say. And the fact that you're saying because you're white, you can't say you see it differently, that's bizarre to me. But go ahead, give me your final comment around however you think now that we broke down to you how vaccines operate.
You guys, through this conversation, have given me a different perspective and point of view,
Okay.
and I appreciate it.
Did you vote for Donald Trump in 2024?
I did.
You did. Yeah. And are you happy where things are now?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Are you happy when you hear about Confederate names being restored on military bases? Does that make you happy?
It doesn't bother me. No.
does bother you. These things don't bother you. Slavery, Confederacy, it doesn't bother you at all. That's the MAGA voter. Yeah, interesting. But we gave a different perspective. Go ahead, Reese.
I mean, the reality is that if 9 in 10 people, if they're exposed to the measles, this is from the University of Chicago medicine page. I'm not a doctor. I don't know these facts off the top of my head, but I'm reading from University of Chicago medicine. 9 out of 10 people who are either who are not immune or vaccinated will contract measles if exposed to it. The thing with measles is that measles is contagious 4 days before you even show any symptoms. That's almost a full school week where somebody's child can be in a classroom asymptomatic. Remember that word we used to talk about during COVID? Being asymptomatic and yet being contagious, where if your child touches them or whatever, because it's through contact, it's highly communicable. I think I said that right. It's highly contagious. I'll say it that way. So the problem is that you have people who will have children who are sick and they may not know it. So those people, I can't blame them if they don't know their children are sick, but send them to school anyway. But there are also motherfuckers who are going to know damn well that their child is sick and will still send their children to school because they can't take off of work. They ain't got nobody to watch their kids. So they badass kids that's now sick with fucking measles and sitting in the classroom. Now, I don't want a 1 in 10 chance for my child. 1 in 10 is too fucking high of a chance to take with my child. Now, other people might feel comfortable.
The caller doesn't know. Yeah. And you have a 4-year-old in case the caller.
I have a 4-year-old. I would never put my child in a position where she has a 1 in 10 chance of catching a deadly disease or a disease that can permanently damage her brain. And I don't care if it's 1 out of 1,000 people that die. That's still too fucking high for me. So my point is that why change the status quo, which has worked for decades, and essentially almost eradicating measles in this country to where you have a much higher chance of schools mingling a bunch of kids who aren't vaccinated with kids who are vaccinated. Now, then let's talk about the kids who are unvaccinated, who get measles. I think their life matters. Now, maybe their parents don't. I don't know. But I think that the consequences of these kids having a disease that is very, dangerous, that will hopefully, if they do get it, at least take their ass out of school. So how much school are they missing? I think we have to think about this a lot more than just freedom. Government hands off my vaccine. Like, we gotta have a little bit more motherfucking sense. If it were the case where my child has a 0 in 10 chance of getting measles because somebody didn't vaccinate their kids, I probably wouldn't give a fuck. I'd probably be like, whatever. If that's what you want to do with your kid, that's on you. Don't do a GoFundMe when shit happens, medical bills, funeral. I don't want to hear shit. Don't ask me for nothing. I'm not sending you a card. I'm not sending you flyers. I'm not doing shit for you because you know better and you decided not to. But unfortunately, as Clay has laid out, we have an integrated society. And when people are contagious, and it's not just kids that can get the measles, be clear, as adults, we can get the measles too. That's where the problem comes in. That's why we have a thing called public health, because for public health purposes, sometimes you got to be asked and required to do something. There's a reason why we have laws that say employees must wash their nasty ass hands after you wiped your ass and you wiped your coochie. You got to go wash your hands before you go and you cook somebody's food. There's a reason why we have public health laws. Now, should we just say, well, that's treading on me? The government shouldn't tell me to wash my hands after I wipe my ass. I don't have to wipe my ass and wash my hands. I should be able to just go handle food, make hot dogs and shit and hamburgers and french fries with salmonella or Ebola or E. coli or whatever the fuck ass juice on my hands. We have public health laws for a reason because everybody ain't got fucking sense. And when people who don't have sense do shit that would mess up everybody else's shit, you got to have a law to stop that. That's why we have public health.